Hey everybody. On Facebook the other day, in one of the many Greyhawk groups that I frequent, somebody made the observation that the encounter tables, the wilderness encounter tables for Greyhawk, don't don't make it easy on lower level parties because the encounters are too hard. And I just want to say that's the point. And that's what I'm going to talk about today on Greyhawk Grognard. So I couldn't find the actual post. There are so many in so many groups. I couldn't find the specific one, but that was the gist of it, is that random wilderness encounters are too hard for lower level characters and parties to handle. And I think that reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of the function of wilderness encounters, especially in the World of Greyhawk. Now first, just to make the point, wilderness encounters in the regular DM's guide, we got just the regular book, they're sprinkled about with no regard for level, right? The dungeon encounters are keyed by dungeon level, which equates roughly to character level. So as you go further deeper into the dungeon, you're going to get harder and harder monsters. That's one of the standard tropes of first edition, because it was so dungeon based. But when you move out to the wilderness, that doesn't hold at all. You're going to have encounters that are different by terrain type and by climate, but they don't care about levels. So in the same encounter table, you're going to have brown bears, gnolls, hellhounds, dragons, ice toads, trolls, yetis. I mean, it runs the whole gamut of toughness for monsters, and thus there's no real way to for it to be judged by party. It's the party has to know when to run away is basically it, and that holds true for all of old school D&D. But when you look specifically at the World of Greyhawk random encounters, something very, very different comes up. Because in the glossography, they have random encounter tables for different countries and different wilderness areas. So there's one for different mountain ranges and forests and swamps and things. So when you look at it, though, these encounters, at least when you start with the kingdoms, right? So you've got Almor, Nyrond, Ernst has one table, the Grand March, Basel, and Kaolan has another. They go for about 40 to 70% human or demi-human encounters. So you're going to have, just to take Nyrond as an example, you've got demi-humans, sylvan elves, gnomes, halflings, humanoids, bandits, brigands, merchants, men, nomads, patrols, pilgrims, and so on and so forth. Some of the more evil countries will have many more humanoid encounters, so in the bandit kingdoms you can encounter bugbears and gnolls and flins and things, and soldiers are everywhere, patrols are everywhere, pilgrims, that sort of thing. But the idea is you're going to have encounters with intelligent creatures that you can parlay with. And that's really for those encounters, that's really the point. Is that these encounters in the civilized areas are not intended to be combat encounters necessarily. They can turn into one, but if they do, then chances are the party has screwed up. The idea is you're supposed to role play through these encounters. If you have an encounter with a group of soldiers patrolling the border of the Duchy of Ernst, for example, your first instinct should not be to attack them. If you're a party of good/neutral aligned player characters, you're going to want to interact with them. You're going to want to find out what they've encountered. Are there any dangers we should know about? Maybe trade information that you have about a group of ogres that you encountered a few days ago. There are ways to play those encounters as strictly role-playing encounters that build up the verisimilitude of the setting. because these are living, breathing areas and countries and so forth, and they're going to have their own officials and so forth. And these things can also come back later. Like, let's say a couple weeks later you have yet another encounter with another patrol. It could be the same patrol or a different patrol under the same captain who is well disposed towards you from the last encounter and so forth. We see this in the Gord the Rogue books, and especially in the first one, Saga of Old City, where Gord and Evelay have an encounter with bandits after he rescues her from Stoink, and is it Stoink? Yeah, Stoink. The two of them have an encounter with a group of bandits, and there's like dozens of bandits, so you couldn't really fight your way through it. And Gord manages to finagle things so that he has a contest with one of the bandits, and he thinks he's going to join. He's playing as if he wants to join the group, and then the bandits in turn are attacked by humanoids. So Gord sides with the bandits, and there's a couple of them that survive and go off together. So it's much more of a role-playing encounter. There is combat in that specific example, but it's only with one of the bandits because that's the way Gord sets it up. He picks up a fight with one of the bigger or he's told to fight one of the bigger bandits, to make it a one-on-one combat rather than him against dozens of guys. And that's really the way you can play these encounters, especially with these intelligent encounters with humans and demi-humans and humanoids and bandits and stuff like that. And that actually goes to something that's in the appendix of this book. Here we go. Encounters are not frequent in civilized places, for mankind has a way of ridding itself of unwanted monsters and bothersome pests of dangerous sort. The high road of adventure is an amalgam of medieval travel and confrontations with human-type enemies. Occasional monsters to add spice are put in by the pinch, rather than liberally sprinkled with unrealistic abandon. And that is reflected in these encounter tables, because the first 40, 50, 60, almost 70 in some cases, examples are these men and humanoid, demi-human encounters, and then it says, after that, use those standard encounter tables, which are mostly monsters. Even when you get into some of the more wilderness areas, the Advi Forest and Grandwood are a lot of the same sort of thing, except they throw in here orc soldiery. I'm trying to find something that's a little worse. Okay, here we go. Mountains in the Barrier Peaks, it's mostly giants, but there are still men and cavemen and tribesmen and dwarves. In the Hills and Highlands, again, it's bandits, humanoids. There's more ogres and trolls, obviously. When you get to the Hell Furnaces, it's a little less normal, because then you have fire drakes and fire newts and fire toads and fire giants, and because it's the Hell Furnaces. But the on the whole, the encounter tables, even in the non-civilized areas in Greyhawk, are going to lean towards encounters with intelligent creatures that can be parlayed with and role-played with. And I think that's the point of what Gary is saying in that appendix in Saga of Old City, is that you want to have opportunities for the players to engage with the setting. If you're just coming across a bulette when you're a first level character, okay, obviously you're going to get creamed unless you run and hide, and that's not much of an encounter. But if you encounter a group of say trolls, trolls aren't just savage. Well, they are savage, but they're not mindless creatures. They have an intelligence, and they can be spoken to, and they can be parlayed with. Especially the same with mercenaries and bandits and brigands and soldiers and all those kinds of things, the patrols, the knights, all those types of encounters that they spend so much time detailing in these encounter tables are designed not to be opportunities for combat, but opportunities for role-playing, and as such, an opportunity to learn more about the setting. These encounters can give adventure hooks. They can be sources of further adventure hooks, what might be called in a video game a side quest. You could, if you're talking to some patrol captain and he happens to mention, oh yes, and we've heard tell of something going on over at that farm or whatever, but we haven't had a chance to investigate ourselves. That could be an opportunity for the players to go somewhere. Or you have a group of pilgrims, and they say, oh yes, we intended to visit this shrine, but it's been there's now a curse laid on it, so we are avoiding it. We're going to this one instead. There's all kinds of ways you can use these intelligent encounters that are randomly found in the wilderness to build up the lore, not necessarily of the specific adventure that the PCs are on, but just of the setting in general. You can use it to tell tales about gods or local geography or whatever that will spark little seeds in the players' minds as well as your own. So I believe that is the lesson to be learned from these encounter tables, is use them as a tool, not to do a TPK, but to help your players learn more about the setting. They can encounter new NPCs that they will become regular encounters with. They will have regular encounters with, and so forth. So anyway, that's my thought on the encounter tables. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just a reminder, people who subscribe to the Patreon get to see these videos 2 weeks in advance. So if you want to see that sneaky peeky, please do hit the link down below and support the channel. Every dollar I get through Patreon lets me work on the free stuff that I can then post onto the blog and these videos and so forth, rather than stuff that I have to work on that I can sell. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. How have you used random encounters yourself? And I will talk to you later, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day. And for those of you who heard the cat meowing earlier, one sec. She has found her place of rest.